All right, Thursday, let's start West Virginia at Pitt. Pitt 7.5-point home favorite over under 51.5. The backyard brawl is back, baby. First time these two teams will play since 2011, when they were both in the Big East. I've been to the backyard brawl in both Pitt and Morgantown. It's a blast. This series goes all the way back to the 1800s. These teams hate each other. My two favorite stories from this series. This is actually the first college football game that was ever broadcast on the radio in the 20s was West Virginia Pitt. But my favorite story is Bobby Bowden, who's went on to become a legendary coach at Florida State. He actually coached at West Virginia. They were up 35-8 on Pitt, and Pitt came out in the second half at the half. Pitt came out in the second half and just ran power I the entire half and came all the way back. After the game, West Virginia fans stormed like the locker room and were pounding on Bowden's door, calling for his head. And he said it was the darkest day of his coaching career. So, and then the latest saga is our guy, Kedon Slovis, came out in a pep rally and basically said, F West Virginia. I don't know if we have that clip, but we sort of throw that in there. So yeah, very heated. I'm glad that this game is back. We talked about this earlier in the week on the under. I think that Pitt, now with the coordinator change, losing Pickett, this is a chance for you to mention media days as well, losing Addison, they're going to play a lot slower. They're going to rely on their running game. They're going to rely on their defense, which has some pros up front. And the way that you beat this Pitt defense, which is always going to be solid, is you got to beat them over the top. You got to beat them with deep shots because they play so aggressive on the outside with their corners, leaving them on the islands and quarters coverage a lot. And I don't think West Virginia has the horses to really take advantage there. So I think this is a grinder. I like the under here. What are your thoughts on the return of the backyard brawl, baby?
I completely agree with you on the under. We've talked about it ad nauseum. My side conversation with Narduzzi at ACC Media Days.
Ding.
Yeah, a very informal conversation about how Frank Cignetti is the perfect offensive coordinator and Kedon Slovis is the perfect quarterback, about how cerebral he is, how great he's going to be at running this offense, but they don't want him to do too much. They want to run the ball all the time. They want to be bottom 10 in tempo, not top 10 in tempo, which is what Mark Whipple had him at. And then as far as the defensive side of the ball, I mean, Servassier Dennis is one of our first team All-Americans for the Action Network. So the defense, I believe, outside of Clemson, one of the best in the nation. I mean, the front seven is just so havoc-minded. They always have been. That's typical what Narduzzi wants. And now they're not going to be rushed back out of the field because their offense is out there all the time. I think Slovis is a great fit. We'll see how he runs in this offense. He's not in Graham Harrell's air raid, which West Virginia is. Do we trust JT Daniels, right? Can he run Graham Harrell's offense? He's not really had a successful / healthy season since his freshman year. There's a big theme in week one, which is freshman quarterbacks finding their offensive coordinators. And we see that with JT Daniels. The problem with West Virginia is there's so many transfers, right? We got Stills on the defensive line. There's so many transfers in the back seven. It's a little questionable whether, they're going to be accustomed to the scheme and what Jordan Leslie wants to run back there. So I think that this is ultimately a Pittsburgh win. I would lay Pittsburgh at 7, although I am staying away from the side. Under is the best bet in my opinion, especially a first half under. I think that's good through the key of 51. We are seeing buyback. West Virginia is getting the 7.5. Every time the total gets down to 50.5, we're seeing a little bump on the over here. But I'm sticking with, Pitt laying the 7 and under the current number of 51.5 in the market.
Yeah, I actually lean West Virginia plus 7.5 and not enough to play it.